There's literally an industry group in DC called Cockroaches. And it's made up of lobbyists and BD guys and government people who are, in some cases, political appointees. In some cases, they're just career politicians. The name Cockroaches comes from the fact that every 4 years, when an election cycle happens, it's like a nuclear bomb going off, and you get all of this transition, all of this turnover. But just like when a nuclear bomb goes off, what's the thing that survives? The cockroaches. Hi, I'm Chris Donaghey. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Applied Energetics and the Executive Chairman and co-founder of the Silicon Valley Defense Group.
Hey, I'm James Cross, Franklin Templeton, co-head of private investing, our space and defense lead, and one of the founders and board members of Silicon Valley Defense Group. Let me get my Firestorm.
Make sure we're all properly attired.
Yeah, I want to represent your company effectively for all the people.
Thanks for supporting me, James.
Yeah. You know, you're one of the first defense entrepreneurs I ever met.
I know.
And you're still here.
I think you and I smoked a lot of cigarettes and drank a lot of beers over the years.
Okay, well, I hope my mom doesn't listen to this podcast. Thanks.
No, we're back for more.
Buzz.
I enjoy pain. That's why I'm here.
There's something to being early. Like, how many defense entrepreneurs are on their second defense startup?
The only one I can really think of is probably the OG Epirus guys. So Nathan, Bo, and what's his name? Tennant.
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
Yeah, there's not much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We probably need more of that. I mean, we need more flame outs earlier. This is venture. There's supposed to be flame outs, and then, you know, it's a badge of honor in Silicon Valley to be a failed entrepreneur and do it again. That's not a bad thing. In the rest of the world, you're one and done. In our world, well, you learned a lot. You probably do better next time.
It's going to be hard to do in hardware, though, because I mean, it would have to be a failure, really, to move quickly. Otherwise, you're gonna have to spend years building something, and then you got to get traction, and then you got to find somebody who says you've retired enough technical risk, we'll buy you, and then you have to have the next idea.
What do you guys think? Like, do you think the moats are being built now, where like we're going to see kind of where the winners are over the next couple of years, or do you think it's still like pretty blue water out there?
I mean, I think we all want what you're talking about. The customer refuses to appoint winners.
Sure.
Although in reality they are kingmaking.
Yeah.
But I think they want more competition, so they're going to recompete all these autonomous attritable contracts every year, so they get software upgrades and new features. And, you know, Chris and I have been doing defense investing way too long, but this was the idea behind the Joint Tactical Radio System, right? So you had two programs of record that had bad technology, but they were locked in. And then Harris comes along with the commercially developed military qualified software-defined radio that did the job really well, worked really well downrange out in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Was in full production already.
It took an act of Congress to get DoD to loosen up and recompete the thing. I think that is where they want to go. I think that's a great idea. Like CCA, get recompeted every year and get 2 or 3. It's a different way of doing business, and I think it'll work really well for high volume production, which is what we need.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll work in some slices of the industry, but not in all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
right.
Anything
that relies on commercial type structures, you should just see the pace continue to pick up. But you have to have customers who are willing to have multiple different platforms in production and figure out how to support and sustain those.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because they're just used to making the one decision, and then they put all their eggs into that basket, and you never see it again for 5 to 10 years.
They don't. The problem is they really don't know how to do that. They were forced to do it on the MRAP.
Sure. Great book recommendation.
It's not like they institutionalized those learnings. As soon as Obama declared peace, the Army's like, we don't know what an MRAP is. We don't want those things. And that acquisition model disappeared. So they're going to have to teach their own dogs some new tricks.
Do you think this new administration is going to help that happen?
It's certainly possible. The problem is you can't say on Monday, we love defense tech innovation. We're here to make more innovation happen in the DoD, and we got to move faster. We got to move quicker. And then on Tuesday, you say, by the way, we're cutting 8% of the budget.
Right.
It's just those signals
Crossed.
They
mixed.
Yeah, and everybody got scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the macro level, yes. But does Space Development Agency disappear tomorrow? Does OSC and DIU merge and go away?
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of chaos on the path up and to the right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're advising our companies that this new administration is probably good for you, but they're also bad for you. And the bad things will happen immediately, and the good things will happen medium fast.
Interesting.
So be ready for your next board meeting or two. You might have some bad news in the deck.
Right.
Be savvy. Like if you have an OSC loan in your financing plan, push that timeline out and lower the probability it happens. And it's funny. Startups are supposed to be dynamic and nimble.
Yeah.
And they think they have visibility now, and they think they've got a supportive backdrop and a great customer. No, we're going to have more dramatic change in the next 5 minutes.
For sure.
And folks think, the VCs run DoD now. We're all getting free money.
I'd say one of the most ironic situations I've seen, talking about the current administration, and they're going to make change for sure. But there's literally an industry group in DC called Cockroaches. And it's made up of lobbyists and BD guys and government people who are, in some cases, political appointees. In some cases, they're just career politicians. The name Cockroaches comes from the fact that every 4 years, when an election cycle happens, it's like a nuclear bomb going off, and you get all of this transition, all of this turnover. But just like when a nuclear bomb goes off, what's the thing that survives? The cockroaches.
Right.
So they're just going to ride it out.
Right.
You're going to see some change for sure, but one administration over 4 years, it's not going to be lasting. This system was built over decades.
Yeah.
And you're just not going to be able to change it.
That's what I tell our team internally. Like, one, you got to be conditioned to lose 99 times out of 100. You win one time, you're on the right path, right? But like, we should not even say the word or the phrase defense reform or acquisition reform. We should play the game by the rules that are in place today and expect those rules to be in place until we see differently. But I talk to a lot of defense companies and they're like, oh, this is it, man. Like, it's going to be so different this time. I'm like, no, it's not. And we're probably going to have a year-long CR here, which if you have not lived through that, like we did in, the Obama years, no, Trump won, I think, right? Problem. And people just don't understand.
This CR is going to be different.
Of course.
Right. That's what they're saying.
Because the Gundo Bros want it to be different, and they voted for Trump, so therefore it will be different.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of sad pandas in about 2 years down there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need some creative destruction. There's too many defense startups. Like, are you the most experienced defense entrepreneur on the planet? Because you've already done it and you're doing it again?
I actually might be.
There's literally 5 of you
which
people.
Is terrifying.
Yeah.
Me and literally the Epirus founding team. That's probably it.
Yeah, and defense investors. I mean, Matt Biggie at Crosslink invented this 25 years ago. I can't think of another VC who's been doing it more than 10 years. And like, I would say 95% plus defense GPs kind of got into this post-Ukraine.
I would say even I'd move that to post-open AI.
Yeah.
When all their SaaS deals just evaporated.
Yeah, I was talking about that on the panel today.
Yeah.
They were like, why did
defense tech become the hottest
so
thing?
Unpopular and now it's popular? Well, there's war on, but the reality is they couldn't make money in SaaS anymore, so they had to go somewhere, and they didn't know anything about defense, so they projected onto defense. Oh, it's $1 trillion market. Oh, look, we found this big market we can go disrupt. It's not $1 trillion market.
I think it also gets substantially harder now too, because you're going to see Europe build and buy European, which used to be a nice place for us to sell stuff, which means that technology will now compete with us in the Middle East and in Asia.
Yeah, they'll sell the Middle East a lot. Yeah, I talked to one very well-known defense GP why did you do Helsing, especially at that valuation? And the answer was, well, Europe's going to buy Europe.
Yep.
And so just whoever shows up first with some new European defense tech will sell a lot. I was like, well, that thesis probably works.
You're seeing a lot of, especially in my space, you're seeing a lot of like, we'll call it locally funded kings being made.
Yeah.
Germany,
Yeah.
the Scandies.
Yeah. Well, that's why Helsing
Portugal.
has 3 headquarters. If you ask Helsing, where are you based? They will not tell you.
Interesting.
They'll say we're Paris, London, and Berlin.
It depends on what your accent is.
Also that.
Yeah.
Which parliament are you asking for money?
Yeah, exactly. What does European defense look like after the war in Ukraine ends, guys?
The big publics are 10 years behind our primes on trying to adapt to emerging technology and a feisty customer that wants more, better tech, faster. So,
and you still end up with parochialism. An Italian defense company trying to sell into France is going to be hard.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to stay local, like you said, and hope to make the most out of it and try to get wins where you can in the other places where you might have something different that no one else locally does have. But I mean, Europe they never get along.
Sure.
Yeah, well, that's the black swan. War on the plains of Europe was unthinkable, yet that's been the reality 99% of the last millennia.
Drone Wars is recorded from Firestorm's global headquarters in San Diego, California. Each episode is filmed inside our X-Cell, a modular industrial-grade manufacturing facility designed to be deployed anywhere in the world within 24 hours for on-demand drone production. Each week on the podcast, we bring you cutting-edge insights from unmanned industry leaders. Listen as they share the breakthroughs and technologies they're working on, the hard lessons they've learned, and the bold predictions about what the next 5 to 10 years in unmanned systems and advanced manufacturing have in store for us. Enjoying the show so far? Then be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Now back to the show. Okay, so Europe buys for Europe. What do you guys think what's going to happen out in Asia? That's the next big market.
I don't know. I have no idea.
From my time at SAIC, I saw increasingly more activity from like the South Koreans trying to get into the U.S. market. You got Hanwha's making some pretty big moves. They were looking at, I think they're still looking at buying U.S. companies and trying to expand their footprint. So, you'll probably have some success out of the South Koreans, I would think. But
they're starting, I think Europe and Asia are starting to get serious. Because in peacetime, defense is a jobs program, right? And it's a means for politicians to be bribed. Well, now people are scared. So you're seeing Taiwan, in addition to buying like the best weapon systems, we'll sell them through FMS. They're starting to go direct to emerging tech defense startups because they have an existential threat. And so, I mean, Europe, same thing. The bear is loose, and Uncle Sam's not going to keep you safe from the bear anymore. So I think the general thesis that having a geoeconomic superpower competition that covers all sectors of the economy and society, if you can't fight within, if your OTA loops aren't inside Moore's Law, you're going to lose. And it kind of comes down, it's a competition of bureaucracies.
And some are more willing to change than others. And we had a dinner last night with the Australians. They want to be as open as they can, but they still have to navigate the bureaucracy over here.
For sure.
That just doesn't, it's just not cooperative.
I mean, Mick Ryan basically, he was a brigadier general there. You guys know the story? He basically looked at the threat China was going to pose 5 years ago, convinced the Australian army to rip up their entire 10-year doctrine and rebuilt it into what it is today. He also writes fiction books because what he's learned is that the only way I can actually share my message with people in a way that's consumable
is tell a story.
Yeah. And so a really good book he wrote is called White Sun War, which is about what does a conflict in Taiwan look like in 2027. And he wrote it during the, we'll call it semi-unmanned revolution we've seen in Ukraine. Yeah. So it covers a lot of that type of stuff.
We should. Silicon Valley Defense Group ought to have a recommended reading list and put that on it.
Yeah.
Dictators always tell you what they're going to do before they do it. So there's the book, those two Chinese colonels
Oh yeah,
wrote
Unrestricted Warfare.
Unrestricted Warfare,
1999.
1999. It's all in there.
Real. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, Putin said he's going to go invade Ukraine before he did it, and we're like, no. Like the American intelligence community, which is an oxymoron, just like pre 9/11, they told Putin, "No, you're not."
Yeah,
and then he did it.
yeah.
It's hilarious. Like we believe what we want to believe. Right? We project on the world what we want to believe. I in terms of reading lists, we're moving into the software-defined autonomous attritable warfare world. To me, it's just like you just combine Snow Crash and Ender's Game, and that's what warfare is. Mm-hmm. And whoever's got the most capable, high volume, cheap production capabilities, it's just going to be like who runs out of robots first, and then you go back to sending in the ships and the Marines, and unfortunately,
the numbers I share are 1 million Chinese loitering munitions being ordered, right? 300,000 drones being used every month in Ukraine. Okay. And then Hellscape and Replicator are supposed to deliver 3,500 systems.
Yeah, it's
so we need to like dramatically increase our manufacturing in the US and not think that Exquisite is going to win, right? Exquisite has a place, but mass is also super important. So who's going to run out of robots first?
I mean, yeah, our competitors have the most bodies between Russia and China, and then China makes everything in the world and we don't make anything.
Yep.
Luckily, we have two oceans between us, but
we also need to figure out how to build 40-cent quadcopter motors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was when Replicator came out, one of the other Silicon Valley Defense Group founders, Chris O'Donnell, who spent 15 years in the drone industry, just tore the whole plan apart for that reason. There is no supply chain to supply things at the price point they want.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to do that, if you want to get to mass, you got to prime the pump a couple years before it's go time. Mm-hmm. And so we need to see them actually take the industrial base seriously and say, hey, we're going to have 10 or 20 companies that all need to build this stuff if we're going to compete. I just don't know if the political will or the bureaucracy can allow for that level of growth for a bunch of companies. You know what I mean?
You asked earlier about the moat. That is the moat. Can you produce at volume?
Yep.
Nobody in our industry, nobody in the emerging tech defense world has produced anything at volume.
It's what my board tells me constantly. Just scale up your production.
Yeah, we'll see.
We hear from customers too. They are 18 to 36 months behind on deliveries for important stuff. And they're telling us, move into a bigger facility and show me production lines so that we can buy down risk with you. Yeah. But it's, and that's one of the always chicken and egg things with defense tech, right? No one in the DoD believes you can do anything until you show them a demo. And then you got to spend all the money to get to the demo or to set up the big, nice factory line that they're used to seeing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I do think the Office of Strategic Capital's loan program is really important.
Yeah.
It's too bad it's probably going to go away.
Yeah. Why is that? Is that because it was a Democrat thing?
I mean, just the rumors were at SVDG's hearing in DC, they're going to potentially merge all the innovation units, put a political pointy over it. You know how this change slows down bureaucratic processes. That's all it is. So maybe it endures. I mean, I've got a Portco that got a Department of Energy loan. It took 3 years.
Right.
And it cost $1 million+ to apply.
And the back end accounting is what I've heard is
it's a nightmare.
Atrocious.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah. And I know there's a couple funds now that are doing the match with that, right?
Yeah.
But those funds are also telling me it is a nightmare.
Don't do it. I mean, no
that's
flexibility.
The thing. You have to know what you're doing before you buy it. It's it's like our company.
Yeah.
I am going to fight against cost plus contracts for as long as I possibly can, because when you take that first one, it changes everything, and not in a good way. They make the money look attractive, but you better be careful.
You have to hire 4 accountants full time just to manage
and then 3 lawyers to watch the accountants, then a lawyer to watch the lawyers.
Yeah.
And another lawyer to report to the government on what the lawyers were doing or not doing. And then,
Are those discussions for are you seeing the admin side of things? Are there discussions to reform that happening? Or is it just a broad swath of cut spending?
Well, I'm pretty convinced that if DOGE is successful and they cut 100,000 government workers in 2 years, 200,000 come back through the government services contractors.
Yeah.
So right now, the government services guys, they're feeling all this pain because they're viewed as the bad guys. But, deep inside in their heart of hearts, they know this is a massive opportunity for them because things will start to break in the government. And the fastest way to fix it is going to be
Spend money.
hire Leidos, hire Booz Allen, hire SAIC.
Interesting.
So short Palantir, go long SCIC.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
I'm going to start a hedge fund based on this man's intelligence
Yeah.
about the defense market.
Yeah.
He's
Booze
a real
is
deep
down
insider.
like 20%. You can get it cheap
I know.
right now.
Listen to the cockroaches. They know where the food is.
Yeah.
The problem is every corporate investor thinks they're special and they've got a better idea and they're going to do venture differently. We would prefer venture capital that works the way venture capital is supposed to work. We're here for scale and speed and flexibility and agility. And if you need to run a bunch of processes to get a decision from your board of directors member on our cap table, we don't need that. And your compliance headaches are not our compliance headaches.
For small drones, there's no silver bullet. You're not going to buy one system that solves all of your small drone problems. It's going to have to be a layered defense type of approach.
Thanks for listening to the Drone Wars podcast. Each week, we bring you fascinating conversations with leaders shaping the future of air, sea, land, and space technologies. Catch new episodes every Tuesday wherever podcasts can be found. Until then, we'll see you next time.